Hello, Mrs. Lohoff here. This is lesson 4.8, subtraction of mixed numbers in the real world. So we're going to look at some situations that can happen in life. They really can. Especially two of the three examples are like seriously something that can happen in real life and solve the math problems that go along with them, which also include mixed numbers. Remember, a mixed number is a combination of a whole number and a fraction part. That's mixed. We're mixing those two things together. Let's take a look at our first question. Matthew is 5 feet tall. Natalie is 3 and 11/12 feet tall. How much taller is Matthew than Natalie? Now, this could seriously happen. If we measured Matthew, he could be an even 5 feet tall. And Natalie could be 3 feet and 11 inches, which in fraction terms becomes 11/12. So we need to subtract one from the other. And we know that Matthew is taller, so Matthew's amount is bigger. And 5 is bigger than 3. So we're going to subtract 3 and 11/12 from 5. So 5 minus 3 and 11/12. Remember that when we subtract mixed numbers, we start with the fraction part. So my fraction part, I don't have one, but I'm supposed to subtract 11/12 from nothing. Yeah, that means I'm going to have to rename 5 in a way that's going to give me some twelfths. So 5 can be the same as 4 and 12/12. Right? Because 12/12 is an additional whole, and when that one whole is added to 4, it would become 5. So let me rewrite that. This would be 4 and 12/12. Okay, now let me get some more erasers here. I've got things, 3 and 11/12. I'm going to copy this. I don't like the colors I got going here. That's a me problem, not a you problem. Okay, now I can circle my whole numbers, which this time I'm going to circle in red. 4 and 3 are my whole numbers. And I can circle my fraction parts in purple. We have 12/12 and 11/12. Again, when we are subtracting mixed numbers, we start with the fraction. And we do that for the reason you just saw. If there's nothing there, we have to rename. So we need to start by subtracting the fraction. So now we have 12/12 minus 11/12. Whenever we add and subtract or subtract a fraction, our denominators need to be the same. They are. Woohoo! That makes life easier. Our answer will also be in twelfths. 12 minus 11 is 1. So the fraction part of our answer will be 1/12. Now I'm going to come back and in red ink, I'm going to do the subtraction of our whole numbers. 4 minus 3 equals 1. So the final answer for how much taller is Matthew than Natalie? Matthew is 1 foot and 1 inch, or 1/12 of a foot taller than Natalie. Let me put that all in one nice color here. 1 and 1/12. And it's because it's a word problem, I always put my label. We are talking about feet. That is how many feet taller Matthew is than Natalie. We weren't talking about butterflies. We weren't talking about cookies, even though I do like to talk about cookies. We weren't talking about them. We were talking about feet tall. So that's my label. All right, let's look at another example. This one, oh, we didn't need my least common multiple worksheet. They were the same. Thank you though, random appearance of a least common multiple worksheet. All right, this next example could also happen in the real world. A city has 10 and 1/8 acres of land to use for a park and a nature reserve. All right, so I'm just gonna draw a little picture because that helps me understand. So there's this chunk of land on a map, it would look like this. And we're going to have a P for park, and we're going to have a nature reserve. Okay, got it. The nature reserve is going to be 2 1/4 acres. Oh, yeah, so this whole thing is 10 1/8 acres. And the nature reserve part is 2 1/4. And they're probably going to want to know how much this is. How many acres will the park be? Told you so. Yep. Okay. So we have to figure out this. So we're going to take 10 1/8, our total, minus 2 1/4. Now let me pick a nice color to do this in. I don't have as many options as I would like. 10 1/8 minus 2 1/4. All right. Get the eraser. I'm going to get rid of my picture here so it's not bothering us. I'm going to circle the whole number and then circle in red, and then circle my fraction part of the mixed number in purple. And when we subtract mixed numbers, we start with subtracting the fractions. So 1/8 minus 1/4. Yeah, this time our denominators are different. We can't subtract them this way, so we have to find the least common multiple. And now my worksheet will be helpful. So in my worksheet, I'm going to put the numbers 8 and 4. 8 and 4. 8 and 4. Now to use this worksheet, I look at my multiplication chart and I can copy all of the facts for 8. 8 times 1, 8 times 2, 8 times 3, 8 times 4. I'm going to put all those numbers in here. Or I can practice them in my head. That's great practice. Then I'm going to do the same for 4. 4 times 1, 4 times 2. We're looking for numbers they have that are the same. So let's start with 8. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. Hey, wait a minute. I already know both of these numbers are going to appear in 4. 4 times 1 is 4, but 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12, and 4 times 4 is 16. We have two numbers in common here, the 8 and the 16. You won't get the wrong answer by picking either of these numbers. If you pick 8 or 16, you are still right. But the one that is the least or the smallest of the two is going to mean we have less work to do. And that's 8. So let's go back and we're going to change our fractions so that both denominators are 8. All right. Well, this one already is 8. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our 1 there. 1/8 equals 1/8. This one, to go from 4 to 8, we multiplied 4 times 2. So I have to multiply the top times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. All right, now our denominators are the same, so let's subtract. 1 minus 2, we don't have enough. We don't have enough. So we have to rename this. Okay, so instead of 10 1/8, I'm going to make this 9, 10 1/8. That would be the same as 9 8/8 plus 1/8, right? Let me put a plus sign here. Because 9 plus 1 is 10, and 10 plus 1/8 equals 1/8. So I'm going to add 8 more 8s here. So 8 plus 1, this would be a 9, and then this would change to a 9. 9 9/8. Okay, 9/8 minus 2/8 is 7/8. So that is our fraction part of the answer. Now we're going to subtract our whole numbers, but remember we had to rename this. It's not a 10 anymore. It's now a 9 because we needed to get more fraction bits over here to subtract. So 9 minus 2 is 7. So the amount of land they have for the acres of park is 7 7/8 acres. So it's going to be significantly bigger than the nature reserve, which makes sense. Well, I'm thinking of a nature center. All right, let's do one more. Juan runs a mile in 8 3/4 minutes. This one is the least real of the three because most of the time we don't measure time in 3/4 of a minute. We measure it on a stopwatch, but we're going to go with it. We're going to do this. We have 8 3/4 minutes. After a month of training, he can run a mile in 6 7/10 minutes. Yeah, he gets faster. He's been practicing. How many minutes does Juan's time improve? So we're going to take the 8 3/4 and subtract 6 7/10. 8 3/4 minus 6 7/10. You know, I'm noticing putting my minus signs it's so low it can actually be the bottom. All right, we got it written. Let's go ahead and circle our whole numbers in red. 8 and 6. And then our fraction parts we're going to circle in purple. 3/4 and 7/10. And that's what we're going to start with. 3/4 minus 7/10. When we add or subtract fractions, our denominators need to be the same. 4 is not the same as 10. So we have to find the least common multiple. All right, least common multiple, 4 and 10. So in my chart, I'm going to write 4 and 10, and then all of the multiplication facts for 4 that I need to until I find a repeat with 10. So 4 times 1 is 4. Remember, you can copy it from a multiplication chart, but I'd love for you to be practicing them. Even if you don't need practice, it's good practice. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3, 12. 4 times 4, 16. 4 times 5, 20. 4 times 6, 24. 4 times 4 times 7, 28. 4 times 8, 32. 4 times 9, 36. All right. 10, same thing for 10. 10 times 1 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. 10 times 3 is 30. 10 times 4 is 40. I'm going to stop there because we do have a number in common. And if I went out to this, if I had made the chart go up further, because sometimes you do need to go off the chart to find the common multiple, 4 times 10 is 40. That's the turnaround fact for this one. So we have two numbers in common. We have 20, which I'll be honest, when I first looked at this problem, that is not the one that came to my mind. I thought of 40. And I could use 40. It would just be extra work. Okay, so we're going to use 20. 20 is the least of the common multiples. It's the smallest. Whoops, there's my screen going crazy. Get this to go away. I've got this thing on my screen that won't go away. Oh, hang on a second. Goodness, I'm sure you couldn't see it, but boy, it was taking up my screen and making me crazy. Okay, so our least common multiple was 20. So we're going to change these fractions to have the denominator of 20. And then we'll see if we can subtract them or if we need to do some renaming. To go from 4 to 20, we multiply times 5. Whatever I do to one part of a fraction, I need to do the same thing to the other part of the fraction. 3 times 5 is 15. To go from 10 to 20, we multiplied 10 times 2. So I have to multiply the top times 2. 7 times 2 is 14. 15 twentieths minus 14 twentieths, I can do that. It's going to be 1/20. All right, so that's the fraction part of our answer, 1/20th. Now we're going to subtract the whole numbers. 8 minus 6 is 2. So the final answer for how much he improved in his running, he improved by 2 1/20th of a minute. All right, I hope this was helpful for you. Take them slowly. Remember, for subtracting, you start with the fraction part, and if there's not enough there, you have to rename that top fraction to get more parts to be able to subtract. All right, have a great day. Take care. Bye.